So how do we know if we're doing all right? Huh? How do we know if we're doing okay in life? I've asked this question before. It was several years ago. I believe it was something along the lines of how do you know if you're depressed or how do you know if you're anxious? In fact, over the last decade, I've probably made a half dozen videos like that. It's hard not to cover the same topic several times, but as the sun passes behind a cloud, it gives me a slight reprieve from this overwhelming, abundant spring heat. Can't get enough of it. I'm sitting here thinking about some of the best advice I've got in my life and some of the worst advice, and I kind of had a little joke in the back of my mind that the best piece of advice I ever got was to be yourself, and the second best would be to be like everyone else, I guess. Neither of these were really advice that I've received, but rather advice I would, I guess, give as a half joke that you have to be living for yourself and your own truth, but at the same time, you can't just blaze your own path completely. There's a certain amount of connection we want with other people. And so it's hard to fit in. It's hard to fit in when you don't feel like you have much to contribute to the average group of people that you encounter. If I were to enter a room with, 10 people at a party, I'd be lucky to find one person that I could even have a decent conversation with. And that's maybe when I was younger something I would chalk up to me being above and beyond others or smarter or, oh, I'm just a deeper thinker. But, you quickly realize after your 20s that's just not the case, that our perceptions of other people and how they think just are usually just damn well incorrect. Um, you know, the soft-spoken, quiet person is usually regarded as maybe the most thoughtful person when often they're just maybe dumb. Our perspective and perceptions of what makes a person, you know, what their personality would be like at any rate. Um, I guess what I'm getting at is that I'm often wrestling between two worlds with an ambivalence. For example, learning to in life that we know we have to be a nice guy. You can't be a total jerk. That's pretty obvious, something that we've learned, at least guys have been taught in my generation, but perhaps in previous generations not so much, right? Maybe in certain places in life you need to be an asshole. And in certain fields of, such as businessmen, I mean, being cutthroat is considered the norm, and you're the weird and the outcast if you aren't a jerk, because you kind of have to be in certain fields. I don't necessarily say I approve or think that that's okay. It just is what it is. But on the same token as learning to be, quote, a nice guy, you also have to learn to be cutthroat. And even when you are, your whole life is based around being a nice person, you have to know when to just tell people to fuck off, and just to be straight up with how you feel. It's just such a complicated thing being human that, a guy like me can sit down with a stupid phone in my hand and record a dumbass video and post it up on the internet for no particular reason other than to maybe hear myself talk about things that I know other people face the same kind of bullshit as me. And so that brings me to the question, that I brought at the beginning of this is, how do you know if you're doing okay? And the one I made however many years ago about depression, how do you know if you are depressed or not? It's complicated. It really is. Because I think it's important, because I've encountered a lot of people who think that they're depressed, and you can't tell a person they're not depressed, especially when they're comparing it to their previous experience. Whereas a person who may seem depressed, but on the outside to some may be not depressed at all because they've faced so much adversity in their lives. And they're used to that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So it all depends on what you're used to and what you're accustomed to, how much you can cope with. But my point is that depression is something that you can compare to other people to an extent. Same with anxiety. You can say, is everybody else as frightened as I am? Or is everyone else as sad, or seem at least as sad as I am? And you can ask people. And even though comparisons are never the, way to get to the truth for yourself, at least it gives you an idea, a baseline to say, well, maybe things aren't as bad as I thought. But that's hard enough to determine with emotions. If you move to whether you're doing okay successfully in life, that's one of the most complicated questions out there. The idea that you shouldn't covet thy neighbor's goods, of course, is kind of a misnomer in the sense that what that really just means is, you shouldn't be jealous of other people. It doesn't mean you can't covet things or want them for yourself. This is, in essence, motivation and what it is. It's the same way, a person may say, well, just because you see a person driving a Ferrari doesn't mean you need it. No, probably not. But just because you see a person eating a banana or an apple doesn't mean you have to have fruit either. You can live without fruit or that particular fruit, but damn it, you want that fruit because you're alive, you're a human, you want to experience that. So it seems that the more we're missing out on that, the more exotic something seems, the more we desire it quite often. This is why often people who are poor will often desire the fanciest cars. It's this dream of having excess and more because we think it'll bring us, if we're at this stage right here, we'll be happier there. And I definitely do not believe that money brings happiness. I do believe that a certain amount of money, a significant amount, a chunk of change that you have earned and worked for, and that helps you live, is essential for happiness. I'm not going to get into the numbers because everybody's got a different idea, but let's say anything you earn over $100,000 a year will add marginal happiness compared to just being able to have, per person, for a family of two, right? Making a couple $100,000 a year, it's never going to be enough for people. They're always going to want more and more. Some people aren't happy with millions a year. They've just got to spend more and more because they're chasing the dragon. It's like the video I made a while back about audiophiles and people who are really into music. I'm a musician. I listen to music all the time. I know what sounds good. I know what I like. But I also know that I don't mind listening through an okay stereo system or playing an okay guitar. I don't have to have the top of the line, the very best all the time because of my perspective on things, that I'm willing to compromise on these things. But the point being that there are a lot of people within groups that like to compare themselves to other people within that group, I guess. And it's just kind of silly, really, because all we're after ultimately is just being happy in our individual lives and being able to enjoy our lives. But it becomes extremely complicated when there's nothing to compare to. When you're comparing success, you're comparing your success to someone else's success, and your version of success is going to be completely unique from theirs, hopefully. But I don't know. It's just some thoughts I had about coping and motivation, and I was going to do a video soon here about motivational speakers and the whole hustle culture, side of the internet, and just how it seems like we're always chasing the dragon. We're always looking for the biggest and the best. That's why I was comparing it to the audio thing, that people are never satisfied with their gear. They always want something better. And I feel like people are also chasing happiness. They always want to feel a little better. For the few of you who probably don't know the term, chasing the dragon is literally chasing the heroin around on the tinfoil as you burn it. They call it chasing the dragon, but it's also a metaphor for the larger, you never really catch it, chasing the invisible dragon, if you will. It has a dual meaning there, but it's chasing this unattainable state. It's like chasing enlightenment. It's always there. You always have it. Chasing it only brings you back to yourself. So that's my ramble for the day. My first good ramble after having COVID for 3 days, so I'm back on track. I'll talk to y'all next time. Let me know what y'all think about random shit, because that's what we do here. And I will continue being the best YouTube channel for 48 years from counting. Peace out.